everyone, welcome to another episode of the Anti-Francis podcast. I have missed you guys. Well, life happens like it always does, so we have to make the most of the best of it as much as we can. I'm trying so hard, to record every week, but then things happen that we do not plan for, and after we have dealt with them, we just have to move on, right? So that's what's happening, and that is why I haven't been in your ears in the last week. But I'm back again, right? Thank you so much for always being there, for listening to this podcast. I appreciate it. I do not take it for granted. Yes, this past weekend, it was World Hypertension Day, which was on 17th May, okay? And the theme for 2025 was measure your blood pressure accurately, control it, live longer. I've talked extensively about high blood pressure on this podcast. You could go and refer to my World Hypertension Day podcast for last year. I talk about the preventative measures, the control measures, okay, the risk factors, all of that. And I keep talking about this disease in most of my podcasts, okay? So I'm happy that I've talked about it, but I just want to highlight the fact that you have to know your numbers. Your blood pressure is very important. It's not age dependent, and I have mentioned categorically that it doesn't always have symptoms. So if anybody is telling you that it's when you have headache that your blood pressure is high, they are just lying to you, because headache could signify any disease. It could be one of the signs or symptoms of any disease, from fatigue to hunger even, which is not a disease in fact. So what I'm saying is measure your blood pressure regularly and accurately. So if you would use a self-testing device at home, maybe your digital blood pressure monitor, make sure that it is in good condition. Get a very good quality one. Make sure that you change the battery from time to time. Don't use battery of 2 or 3 years ago and still keep maintaining it. It might start giving you wrong readings. If you'll be using the manual sphygmomanometer, please get a qualified person, a trained person to actually use it, so that you do not take the wrong reading. Do you understand? Because it is important to measure your blood pressure accurately. Only then would you know what to do to maintain a healthy blood pressure range. In that podcast episode as well, I mentioned about the healthy range. Always talk to your healthcare provider. Do your healthy diet and exercise to maintain your blood pressure, okay? So that is it about World Hypertension Day. I wanted to bring to your notice today. But on today's episode, I'll be talking about something different, okay? So let's get right into it. So today, I'll be talking about a very phenomenal young man, okay? I mentioned in my last episode about the Time 100 individuals, those that made the Time 100 health list for 2025, the champions of global health, the innovators, the leaders, the pioneers, the catalysts, and the rest of them like that. And I mentioned that I will be talking about individuals, particular ones that have inspired me amongst these people, sharing their story, going in depth into their story, what made them receive that recognition, okay? So one of them is who I'll be talking about today. His name is David Fajgenbaum, a 40-year-old physician, okay? This man actually took an adversity and turned it into an opportunity, not for himself alone, but for others like him. He actually found his own cure. Imagine that. This is a typical example of that line from the popular TV series Game of Thrones, which is, what do you say to the god of death? Not today. This man literally said that to the god of death. Not today. He came down with a very rare disorder in his third year of medical school. He landed in ICU after an exam, okay, and he was diagnosed with a very rare disorder called Castleman disease. It is a rare enlargement of lymph nodes in the body. Even at that time, it wasn't taught in school. It's something that less than 0.01% of Americans had, so it wasn't paid attention to. Statistics actually says that it affects about 16 patients in a million in the US. That is not globally. Imagine just 16 out of a million. That's 0.000001%. I'm happy that I've talked about rare diseases on this podcast. I did not even mention Castleman disease because, well, like I told you then on that episode, that those diseases are not exhaustive. I just mentioned some of them. So if you haven't listened to that episode, this is your cue to go and listen to it immediately after this one. At this point, I feel like Anti-Pharmacist Podcast is actually like a directory, a repository of various health topics, not only about your medication, as you know, but about diseases, about science. So which topic do you want to hear about that I haven't talked about? Well, you can actually message me to talk about them. But I believe that very important topics in healthcare have been covered on this podcast. I mean, if you give me my flowers, I deserve my accolades. Don't you think so? And again, I talked about drug repurposing on this podcast. So this particular person just jumped out at me amongst this time 100 health innovators, individuals, and all of that. This guy is committed to repurposing medications because for his disease, Castleman's disease, like I told you, it was very rare. There was no known cure at the time, but he told the god of death that he wasn't going to die now. So he collaborated with his doctors to actually keep some of his blood samples they were taking for him to actually run the test by himself. Imagine that. I've always mentioned on this podcast that your health is a partnership between yourself and your healthcare providers. Always carry them along, always ask the right questions. They're ready to partner with you within reason. So I want to really commend the doctors of this patient, because he was a patient at that point, the doctors of David Fajgenbaum, who actually allowed him, obliged him, and gave him samples of his blood and lymph nodes to actually run his own separate experiment. That is another level of determination to be alive. That, this disease, you will not see the end of me. And he actually conquered it because he has been living in remission, disease-free for over 10 years now. He had this diagnosis when he was about 25 and now he's 40. Okay, he actually discovered the cure to his condition when he was about 29. So it's been 10 years and he's doing fine. He actually discovered a characteristic of this disease that made a particular drug a good candidate for the management. And what was this cure he discovered? It is called sirolimus, which was used to prevent organ transplant rejections in years past. He talked to his doctors to try this medication on him, which they agreed to, and it happened to work for him. Lucky for him, and he has been on that medication ever since. Then he decided that if he could repurpose that kind of medication, how many more thousands of medication could actually be available that could treat some conditions, rare or not, that people are not paying attention to? He decided to form a research group that would look particularly into this. Why in 2022, he founded a non-profit organization called Every Cure, which uses AI to identify potential new uses for already approved drugs. It works by comparing 4,000 drugs against 18,500 diseases and scoring each one on its likely efficacy. Once the team pinpoints promising uses, they either start testing them in the lab or connect with doctors eager to prescribe them. According to him, people were literally dying of these diseases before, and now they can live with the solutions that were already there. In 2024, he actually got an award of $48 million to further help this research by a research body called Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health. Okay, and up to now, Fajgenbaum's team has identified or advanced 14 repurposed treatments for 5 rare diseases. Now, he has helped others like himself to have a new lease on life, to live better, to live longer, to live without the diseases that could have killed them by using already available medications. See, he actually thought outside the box, using medications that are available. If you have not listened to my episode about polypharmacology, one drug, many indications, please go ahead and listen to that. These are some of the reasons why those medications are used, and this is one of the importance of having that kind of medication that can treat different diseases, that has different targets in the body. Some of these are normal medications, like I said on that episode. They already have this activity, but people do not realize, people do not notice, okay, some of this activity come as side effects, do you understand? And some do not appear in others because of genetic differences. So we just have to look more closely, all right, and ask the unpopular questions. If this guy wasn't as inquisitive as he should be, and if he wasn't determined to stay alive, do you know how many people would have died apart from himself? So this is the man that decided to shine the spotlight on today's episode. It was one of the Time 100 on the health list for 2025, and his story was worth sharing. This is just like a profile of different individuals on that list. Like I said, I want to do it as quickly as possible. If I'm able to do like 5 of them, I think that is fine. It tells of resilience, it tells of determination to live, it tells of learning from experience and using one's experience to also help others, which we can all learn from. So that is what I have for you on today's episode of the Antipharmacist Podcast. I'll be bringing more to you next time. I hope that in the nearest future, we'll have more Africans, doing great things in healthcare, in research, in innovations. That is why I'm particularly happy about Dr. Fajgenbaum, who is doing good with his Syndicate Bio company, helping the less paid attention to people. Let me put it that way. The people that are like the minority, in clinical trials, in drug testing, in drug discovery, Africans seem to be left behind. Okay, we need minds like that. I'm one of such minds, okay? So watch out for researches from my hand too. Like I told you, I'm a researcher. But at the same time, there are many others out there. And you could also join them, right? So this is my call to young people to value science, okay? Value research. It changes the world. And I hope to hear very, very good things about that company going forward. Yes, that is just my way of shouting out to him and other Africans that might be doing something similar. Please just keep doing it, okay? And who knows, your research might save lives and also put you on the pedestal of recognition that you deserve. I'm very passionate about research, like you must have known. I'm very passionate about medication use. After all, I'm a pharmacologist, okay? I love therapeutics, translational research, from the laboratory to real life experiences to bedside. It is very important. So if you're a researcher like me, you want to collaborate on anything, please reach out to me as well. If you're a podcaster about health, please reach out to me. And yes, before I close, let me give this shout out to Apoko Doctor, Dr. Chinonso Fidelis Egemba, and his partner, who are working on an indigenous health app, Our Doc, using already available resource, WhatsApp. You see what I'm talking about here? They are doing great work too, and I'm sure that with time, their work will also go global. In subsequent episodes, I'll be talking about how healthcare and technology are going hand in hand now to change the world. Many of the people on this Time 100 lists, many, like over 80% of them, are using technology one way or the other to better healthcare, using technology to discover medication, to repurpose medication, to actually change behaviors when it comes to health. So, technology and science, they're together, right? Because in the long run, like I always say, and like we all know, health is wealth. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Anti-Pharmacist Podcast. I'll be bringing another interesting personality to you on the next one. Do not forget to share, to like, to subscribe, to do all of that. Support me on my social media. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Bimisola Debisi Jose. Like everything Anti-Pharmacist Podcast put out there. Okay? Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share with others. Give us the visibility that we need and that we deserve to reach a more global audience. And I'll be seeing you next time. Till then, stay healthy and God bless you. Ciao!